Hey guys, welcome to my first ESA's Takeaways video. Basically, for every interview I show, I'm going to be making an ESA's Takeaways video, and I know I've been like hyping this up a lot, but it's finally here. And basically what it is I'm going to be talking about certain clips, and instead of just kind of like showing the clips to you guys, I'm actually going to be like telling you what I get out of it and kind of like things maybe you don't get when you first listen to it. So the first clip we're going to be talking about is like the beginning of the interview where Felipe basically says, I asked him, where did your interest come from? And he was like, being surrounded by all this biodiversity in Colombia, I have always been interested in science and ecology more broadly. So I kind of wanted to talk about this and talk about how having a reason kind of like for having an interest in a certain thing, for in this case like ecology and biodiversity, is very important. So in this case, Felipe says it was because of his culture, because of the biodiversity that he saw growing up in Colombia. So just like keep this in mind. If I say that I'm interested in, for example, medicine and I don't have a reason, I just say, oh, I like medicine because I don't have a reason, because you don't really have a reason, I just like it, versus saying, for example, I'm interested in genetics because I've always been very interested about my family ancestry, my history. It's like a little different having a reason versus not having a reason. You like know and you feel more connected to the person and it makes more sense. So yeah, just keeping that in mind, especially for college applications, but also for just like lab applications in general. It's good to have a reason and like keep that in mind when you're choosing your career path and what part of science you kind of like want to get into. Felipe also talks about how he was trying to be on top of what was going on, and he was reading lots of papers around the time that he got his lab internship, before and after. So I kind of wanted to talk about that because it's very, very, very important before you send an email, before you apply to work at a lab for an internship or anything like that. It's so important that you do research beforehand. Make sure to be informed. Just being informed is like kind of like security at the gate. Like you need that kind of like for you to be kind of like considered as an applicant, because if you don't even know, like it's just common sense, like know what you're applying to so you know if it's going to interest you, and just to like show they should consider you as an applicant, as someone to work at their lab. So it's always good to have like knowledge before sending an email. So make sure obviously you know the name of the lab, make sure you know maybe like the general thing that they're researching. Yeah, make sure to know obviously like the head of the lab, have a reason for why this interests you, what specific part of their research interests you, etc. Make sure to have that in your mind. Make sure to know how to like articulate that. But also it's important to know to like and read a book, maybe books and literature, and maybe like read a journal before. So it's important to know that while this is really important and you absolutely should do all these things before applying and before you actually meet the head of the lab or before you send that email and all that stuff, it's important not to fake it too, because you fake it and you start using all this fancy terminology and you get way out of your kind of like skill set. Because just think, like the people in this lab, the people at whatever the context is, are gonna have a lot more experience, are going to know a lot more than you, and then if you come in kind of like pretending like you know this stuff, it's really like ingenuine. So it's kind of like having a balance of trying to learn, especially that like making sure you show that you're trying to learn and you're taking action to learn, but that'll get you really far. So it's kind of like being humble and accepting that you don't know everything and you still have a lot to learn. Also like being active, independent, and accepting help. So don't fake it either. Find a balance. That's really important. And friends in your personal life is obviously like one thing, and it's like obviously really important to have those, but it's also like really important to have friends and acquaintances and allies in your work life who can open doors for you and get you to where you need to be without you having to do all the work. And Felipe talks about the Botanical Society of America. He says that there are high school students who can attend meeting, and there's research in the summer for high school students. So kind of connecting to this, in the Botanical Society in America at UCLA, and basically at any university in America, I just want to emphasize that you can find these types of opportunities, like this sort of like thing with high school students, summer internships with high school students before college type of thing. You can basically find that anywhere here. Just make sure to apply to a bunch of them. There's no harm in applying, but also make sure to search. It's really not that hard to find, and some of the websites can be kind of tricky to navigate, but I can make a video about that in the future. But really, it's pretty simple. Just search up like UCLA, USC, or BU, whatever, whichever university is close to you. Maybe look for summer internships and it should probably come up. If not, use all the resources you have. Use ChatGPT, talk to a friend, talk to a parent, something like that. Make sure to utilize all your resources. Do it, especially in a university, I guess, that you're interested in, because if you're trying to like play the game, kind of like for college, if you're a high schooler, just think about how they're going to be checking how much you interacted with their website if you have experience like in this summer program and you did it especially repeatedly. Then when you're writing a college application for this school, it's already like demonstrated interest, like I did it this year and I did it this year because, and you can say I want to join this university because I want to work with this professor, because I did this thing in this summer camp and this year. So it's also being strategic about where you're applying. But generally, any like exception for a summer internship is good. Any experience is good, but that's another thing to keep in mind. Let the little things get you down, or if they like do affect you, which like inevitably like they do, especially if you're just, like that one minority in a room full of like intimidating kind of like scientists, like they all don't have like kind of like culture or personality you kind of like vibe with. Even if you feel like uncomfortable or like what am I doing here, I don't belong here type of thing, fake it till you make it. Like just know that you deserve to be there, or even if you're feeling like shit, like just fake it, radiate that confidence. You belong to be there and people will take notice and they'll believe you. One of the last things Felipe said in his interview is think big and broad about biology. So this is actually really important to emphasize, because a lot of people who want to get into a science-related field want to go, shocker, to med school. And it's important to know that like biology and science is not just med school. So many other careers out there, so many other like types of science. There's pharmaceuticals, there's ecology, there's just industry, there's academia. There are so many different types of things, not just med school. Med school is just like one branch, but it's also important to set your priorities. So if you're saying I want to make a lot of money, then yes, maybe you should consider med school, but also consider like your own interest. Does my personality like fit in with this thing that I'm trying to do? For example, me, I'm a very like social person. I can't see myself like working 24/7. So for example, like med school probably wouldn't be for me. So it's kind of like knowing, setting your priorities straight, but also keeping in mind what'll fulfill you, what'll make you happy. Science is the sector with like the most jobs, with the most upcoming jobs, with the newest jobs, I think, out of any other kind of like job sector. So just keep that in mind. There's so many like new jobs being created and you shouldn't have to settle for one that you know will get you somewhere. Take a risk. Keep in mind like your mental health and what'll actually make you the most happy and what aligns with your personality. Make sure to like and subscribe, share with whoever you think would be interested, and see you guys soon. Bye!